So I've been doing research lately into living in an overground bunker. It's essentially the same as living in an underground bunker, but with all of the issues seen on the surface, like a functional society. My job here is to find ways to prevent everything. Don't like society? Don't pay the bills. I might be cold, but my wallet sure ain't. You see that light there? That light hasn't been on since September 17th, 2021. Who's gonna turn it on? A bailiff? Do you like to negotiate?
No.
In retrospect, I was a part of the problem. A brief life for one. Yeesh, how society of me. So I've decided to kick back, get cozy and rot away piece by piece. I'll start the liver because, you know, it has live right there in the title. Bon appetit!
Hey, you! That's dangerous for you, that is. Give it here.
What are you?
Hey! Wait! Can't you read the can? I'm Gilly, Thatcher!
Neat. Well, my brain is next on the list, so feel free to share a can. I'll give you anything I've got to lose a little peace of mind. So what's your story, Gilly? Got any goals, ambitions, burning desires?
Mate, it burns when I piss.
Heavy as cider.
Nah, mate. STDs. Now, let me get cozy. Tell me your story.
Well, I'm just committing grand arse on the micro-habitat. Am I doing it to warm this stone-cold heart, or just the sheer thrill of watching lesser beings suffer? You know what? Maybe it's somewhere in the middle. A bit blatantly and overtly, some of both.
Ugh, that's ironic, mate. Just like what the bailiffs of society did to you.
I'll be honest, Gilly, I fell off and cracked hard, like a millennial's phone. The only thing differentiating that from I is at least this phone can bust under the pressure of playing Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Anyway, it's like f***ing summer. What are you got a fire on for? And what is this preschool art project? And what are you wearing that for? Take it off. You look like a dried tampon.
So, what is your story, Gilly? You got retired off the catwalk before your prime? Ah, my liver!
Nah, you cheeky cockroach nipple. Anyway, you see that building over there?
I don't know, I've had a vendetta against looking at things since I saw you. Can you describe it to me?
I used to be big into real estate. I built those apartments over there. I built loads of them with bare hands. Use the other for jerking. I was the best in the business until this bastard came along.
A game called Billy Hatcher ruined you, Gilly Thatcher. What, was the game too good for you? Got too popular and overshadowed you? Now do you live in spite of a chicken and a lust that you can't wank to wet cement anymore?
Bam bam blammo, no! Everybody thought I was him and he was me. Business was booming, but sales were lower than me wife on me brother. Everybody stopped paying rent, so I had to shut that down.
Well, Gilly, tell you what, I'm gonna do your name justice. Talking about drivel like this, well, I desire it, and tell you the truth, I've heard good things about Billy and my
Mate, swear down this kid's a virgin.
You forgive him, we split, and get back to our own lives.
Who said I want to be around you anyway? You know, you look like a reject beetle with that dead trim you got. You'd work fine as a Muppet though.
So, Billy Hatcher, where do I begin?
You know, you usually have a computer to research these things on. Can I borrow your phone?
Whoops.
There's not really much of a story behind this game. Following Sega's departure from the hardware business in 2001, due to almost a decade of fledgling sales, Yuji Naka, the director of Sonic the Hedgehog, just kinda wanted to create Billy Hatcher, and he chose to put it on the GameCube because it seemed like the best fit for the target audience.
You know why this is on GameCube, lad? It's because he knew it was a crap game. And the only way this would get over with any kind of fans is if they were teeny tiny babies with brainstems shorter than their fingernails. So their little minds wouldn't get distracted with pretty little colours, but that would mess up the entire sales operation of this game. If the reviews ever got away from corporate minds, it would ruin it. But that already exists on PlayStation and Xbox, like.
When I opened the game for the first time, I gotta say I was alert immediately. That folksy upbeat backing track enveloping such a lavish village below, intertwined with the greenery surrounding it just feels so cozy.
Anyway, I thought you was a game reviewer, not a bloody thesaurus. Nobody's going to understand you if you keep using these big brain words that only you've ever heard of.
Well, maybe. Wouldn't it be delightful if after every little sentence I said, you didn't perk up after every little rebuttal I made, so I wouldn't have to use these big fancy words because I could actually get a word in if you didn't get in my way.
So after the title is the menu, yeah, and after making a file you can either jump into the main campaign or have a multiplayer jest, but something tells me that opportunity won't arise today. Oh wow, nice, an FMV demonstrating chickens in their natural haven, the beach. I am sure they like it there very much, really, but I digress. A gang of crows drench the air to the point of mistaking it for an industrial revolution, and then we fade to black. Give the screen a good prod though, and we're now brought to the home of Billy Hatcher through the use of various jarring fades with pace-breaking angle changes, where he is discovered to be caught in a flurry before another fade to black. This monumental demonstration of the capabilities, fictitious synonym. Oh, Jesus Christ. Billy's mates want to give him a fatal right hook to the jaw for being late. Then the measly little chickens lead the crows here in their escape. Billy respects nature, so he belts one out of the stadium because he's just so extra. God. And then the game starts.
What?
I don't want to linger on the story for so long, but like, what?
Okay, so basically, the chicken god from the opening was impressed by Billy's work, so now he's summoned him into Morningland, despite already being established to coexist in the exact same place, to now help with his problem, completely abandoning his friends in the process, and now he needs to save Rooster and Chicken alike.
We are given exposition after our first 7 steps from spawn, but why tease us with free will just to cook us? You know, most industries would be courteous enough to write out a contract first, but I don't care, I can finally play the game. On his own, Billy's like the top wet wipe from a packet exposed to the air, a waste of potential. There's literally nothing he can do from the get-go. No form of attack, no athletic competence, he's got nothing of a moveset besides, like, a shockingly high jump actually. Imagine seeing a normal bloke do that in real life. Mental. Thankfully, that quick jump grants him quick access to the game's first egg, promptly decorating him with Morningland's greatest and only fashion craze, the legendary chicken suit.
Hey, that suits him and all, because it shows exactly what he is for not responding to me emails. Oi, you know I emailed this kid to try and fight me, but he's not responding to me emails. You know why? Because he's a legendary chicken.
This suit remains bound to Billy for the rest of the game, by extent providing the player with various ways to manhandle the eggs found around every level. Between mobility and the combat, these shells are essential to almost every single task leading up to the end goal of each level, expanding upon basic movement with almost half a dozen new options, and providing all offensive options, which are solely reliant on the use of an egg. Honestly though, this game's combat seems needlessly complex. The first trick I picked up on was pressing B to launch X forward, stalling before bouncing back to the play position if commitment to assault were to fail. In practice though, I found this kind of pointless. It was just way more convenient to ram directly into enemies for an instant, coordinated kill with zero wind down between attacks. Most enemies don't bring up much attention to themselves, passing out from the gentlest touch from the protein food group, and should get that checked out. There's a few larger enemies with health bars, but even then the sentiment still stands. I was just aimlessly wandering about in one mission and accidentally demolished an entire wave of enemies that just spawned off screen, each with a health bar, each depleted in a single hit. It also didn't take long to come to terms with the fact that I can perform an egg dunk.
Egg drunk?
Visually striking, but mechanically underwhelming. Even against aerial opponents, I couldn't take the high ground, often missing just for my target to be downed by the grounded egg the moment I pick it back up. Scrumptious. I know, it's petty of me to ridicule these things moments into the first level, I'm sorry! But in my defense, you're immediately introduced to these mechanics without any elaboration or difficulty increase in a practical gameplay setting where a single ration of risk is involved. As such, it's monotonous to have this complicated moveset in place when all its utilization boils down to running back and forth to hit a switch to open a door. It's not exactly a 12-lap loop at Formula 1, is it?
Hey, and that's what children do, innit? They run around the playground, pushing eggs like it's some kind of race. Me theory about GameCube ain't sounding too far-fetched now, is it?
Anyways, at the end of the first level is the game's first mini-boss. Gotcha there, didn't I? Defeating that pathetic and miserable run-of-the-mill enemy with no special quality defining it as an individual amongst the horde frees the Golden Elder chicken egg, containing the protector of this world. Each first stage in the world is based around rescuing them from their eggs in the same manner you would any other egg in the game. Oh yeah, I forgot to explain how you do that. You collect fruit and then scream. Glad we're up to the same pace. With our hostage recovered, the skies part as patriotism to Rooster kind is once again free to dictate the lower species society.
Gilly, the elder chicken isn't even a chicken.
Well, at least it ain't a swallow.
Alas, through all the hurt and pain, we've completed the first level, and Thatcher is well proud of my accomplishments.
Good morning!
What do you mean, good morning, you prick? It was like, and for all intents and purposes, still is in my opinion, the dead of night of like 2 seconds ago. The sky was literally a sack of gold and some rooster put some artificial colouring in there. If you're not standing next to an annoying little gorm at a suitable bus stop hours, it's not morning, is it? Billy Hatcher is a traditionally linear game. Once you complete a level, the next one in that world becomes playable, although the levels themselves all exist in the same physical space, as in you can see areas from the previous mission in the distance of later ones. Some missions even require revisiting distinct set pieces from previous missions, but with new items or objectives changing how you interact with and progress through that area.
Brace yourself for this, Gilly.
I'm actually a huge fan of this setup.
Nah, that's just not on.
I've always been a bit of a swing state when it comes to linearity versus open world exploration, but I think Billy Hatcher perfectly caters to my desires for world traversal. This game is not open world at all, let's clarify that, but this world feels very real to me. I can always cross-reference my exact location to another part of the stage, even if it's inaccessible on that mission. Retreading a previous path is an occasional occurrence, so for one, that makes the world feel huge thanks to the continuous introduction of new scenery. Moreover, it never feels tedious or grinding to explore the same paths over and over again, because you simply don't do it very often. The balance of old and new is very tasteful to the point of getting short-term nostalgia when you realise, oh yeah, it's this area, with minor layout changes between missions allowing that feeling to stay fresh. The point is, although it looks the same, it never feels the same, so it's constantly fun. Until you remember you're playing Billy Hatcher. I mean, each level is different, sure, so is my poop every time I need to relieve myself. Nonetheless, that's still a disgusting piece of shit at the end of the day, isn't it? I adore how this game looks and how varied the same setting can constantly be. If only the interactions within them could follow that structure.
And which of those do you think is a higher priority?
Alright, spoiler alert, but let's compare. Here's a clip of combat from the first world. No, I'm kidding, that's literally the final level. Do you see my point? Better yet, feel my point. Here, you take the controller.
So you see, Doc.
Hey, don't call me that. I'm not qualified. I'll get sued, and that's Mister to you.
Yeah, safe, sir. But you see, I'm just doing the same thing over and over, as if I'm supposed to expect a different result, and I'm supposed to be the one in control?
Mate, if it makes you feel any better, there's about to be a new gameplay mechanic development in that child game thing you're testing or whatever.
Oh, goody goody, the game has stuff now! But before that, you need to mature a certain kind of egg. Billy also needs to grow up by the looks of it. As I touched on earlier, you can grow your eggs by rolling over fruits, consuming them, lessening them. Once an egg reaches peak growth, Billy's spotlight move.
Did I just want to cement in your head? This is all Billy can do without an egg.
Which consists of him screaming a hearty cock-a-doodle-doo or hatch any egg he's facing. Does that make him a surrogate father? Every and all eggs have an exclusive specimen imprisoned within, damage boosts, temporary abilities for Billy, and some have tiny marketable animals which can enhance the egg itself if giving an egg an emo phase is considered to be an enhancement. It's a battle for the parents' favourite compromise. Bigger eggs are stronger in combat, naturally, but don't you want to hatch it for the toy that could be inside? Best of all are the partner animals, and you'll never guess what they do. Bet you weren't expecting that. So partner animals essentially exist to complete, and I'm giving up a lot of dignity to say this, puzzles. If you can't get through a waterfall, launch a mammal at it. Fire surrounding a switch? Well, all Billy needs is a penguin and a duo of limbs. God would have had to send a plague to get rid of that one. There's one moment where a huge rock, like massive, is blocking your path and you need something stronger than an egg to get past it. So you launch flesh and bones. And this power absolutely translates over to combat too. I wouldn't call it practical, but it's undoubtedly overpowered. As for the puzzles themselves, well, they're barely even puzzles. The only challenge is figuring out what element counters the obstacle. Let me pull up a playthrough guide and game facts real quick for this absolute mind tickler.
Tell you what though, as much of a drag running back and forth through this level to get the eggs can be, I'm having a lot of fun in the segment that introduced these animal guys. I'm not bored yet, I can give the game that much.
Mate, it's only the second level.
Some light platforming later, I run into a portal of mildly evil appearance, so naturally, as Billy Hatcher, I'm drawn directly into it.
Mate, what was that? Oh my days, is no one going to explain that to me? He's just gone to, like, what is it? Minecraft, the Nether Realm, isn't it? He's just gone to the Nether Realm and no one's going to explain that to me! To me! You know what though, let's be honest. If I could do that, I'd go down shops. I'm running low.
Hey look, a boss man! Any bets on how you beat it? If eggs don't work, we can always try oatmeal. It's a fairly typical boss. It has moments of invulnerability while attacking before settling into a phase of scurrying around where you can stun it, allowing you to idly hit it a few more times, giving you the illusion of a pat on the back for your courageous, skillful efforts. It's not bad by any means, it's just nothing special.
You know, this boss reminds me of me.
Is it because you used to be the CEO of a big corporation?
No, it's because I hate Billy Hatcher.
You know, this experience will double up as a great clicker game, glue in some obnoxious overlays, have convoluted, unlockable, yet trivial power-ups, smash the screen, that one's just a precautionary measure, close the lid, throw the GameCube into a lake.
Were we still talking about the omelette kid?
Oh man, the bosses have been scrambled, and now to celebrate, we've got some breakfast TV to watch with our poached lizard. I wish I could explain the cutscene, but what you see is what you get. Can I offer you a mint instead?
Yeah, go on then.
Oddly enough, despite getting the standard level end goal collectible, you're dumped back into an empty boss arena to get a quick, hey, I meant it, a quick bit of exposition from the Elder Rooster about heading to Pirate Island, subsequently unlocking a new world to explore. I decided to finish up with the obligatory grasslands first though, and I wish I didn't. Stage 4 is alright, it's a timed collectathon, mashing up segments of all the past missions, and I like this. Using the pre-established set pieces rather than exploring unfamiliar terrain works great for the nature of this minigame. The final mission, however, has you needing to tiptoe on top of an egg like a circus ball, which is shockingly finicky to actually get onto. And once you do, you don't! Not truly, deep down. And Lord forbid you try jumping over these thorns once you've actually made it downstream. You'll get a stunning acrobatic display, credit to Hatcher on that one, but not the result you want. It's just mad annoying, because every time you die, you need to trek over to that same egg again that gives you the circus hat, then grow the egg so you can hatch it for said hat, which is reliant on defeating the most tedious enemies in the game for fruit, and basically, the chicken has me in a cuckold.
Been there, brother.
Oi oi, World 2! Always my preferred world to give the inheritance. Who else had saved the Elder Chicken in the first level on their bingo card? There's an immediate feeling of this world having a greater sense of openness. You can kind of see the whole world in one turn. It's more of a video gamey sandbox rather than a believable place with how the hazards and level geometry are pieced together. And although this Duplo set layout might seem like a downgrading concept, rest assured, it stays that way in practice. For one, the levels stay linear linear, so there's kind of awkward blockades in the form of doors which decide to be open or shut depending on the mission for arbitrary reasons in world context. In the first level, the golden egg is practically at the start of the mission, so I expected this to be unique from the prior golden egg quest, placing a platforming level ahead of you, mandating you carry this one specific egg to the end rather than juggling an infinite supply of eggs as you need them. This is kind of true for about 30 seconds before you hit a dead end, and that's it! If you need more fruit to hatch the egg, you just gotta turn around, but there's no indication of this. Granted, basic common sense indicates that, but I think good game design should rely on more than basic common sense. And if you think that sucks, this cannon, it reeks! The crosshair barely lines up, the trajectory isn't predictable, there's no momentum after launch, only constant speed. It's just unfair.
Don't worry, lad. I believe you'll get it next time. Hey! I'm glad I bet against human compassion. That's just won me a £5.
Let me stress how much I despise this cannon. Like, mate, I could launch a chicken into orbit with my bare hands with more ease. But eventually I realised I can take an alternative path below. It seems relatively and quite literally straightforward. Excuse me? A couple minutes ahead is another cannon, but now the target is a large opening into an enclosed cavern. Why was this not the introduction to that gimmick in an evidently safer, much more lenient setup? And then a little more ahead is the second boss on the second level of the second world. A fine fight, but not very noteworthy. I wouldn't feel a need to rant on Twitter if it was spoiled to me in a YouTube thumbnail, to say the least.
No, I didn't know the boss would be blue.
The subsequent level 3 is a race against the giant version of the Penguin Pal. No collectibles, no enemies, simply an uninterrupted get to the end shtick. It's very easy to get ahead, so there's no actual panic. Take your time. But speedy platforming with food is really fun after the monotony that was the rest of this pissing thing. To have more than 2 minutes of these almost empty obstacle courses will be pushing it though, so I'm glad Billy Hatcher stops before it drags on. Honestly, early game, Billy Hatcher does a brilliant job at balancing out so many different gameplay styles, so would you believe me when I say the next level is based on terrorism? One of Billy's mandem from the intro finally make an appearance decked out in their own chicken outfit. This doesn't fit the narrative. And you're on a time limit to complete a bog standard level and save her. I'm working on it, I swear. Time limit aside, this is a very normal level. Time limit included, this is a very normal level. Every time you die, Billy is reset at the last checkpoint, but the timer is also reset, so there's about as much urgency as attending to your mate Ryan who thinks he's drunk off one sip of diet lemonade. And by the way, if you do so happen to let the bomb go off, you know what happens? Hey guys, welcome to my amazing reaction video of what happens when the bomb goes off in Billy hatching a giant egg. All that's mad, guys, okay. So you're sent back to the last checkpoint, about half a minute away, with a fuse that lasts longer than chronic diarrhea. But no, I did save her, so at least I got some street cred in the chicken world.
Hey, street cred in the chicken world? That really suits you, mate.
I then returned to Pirate World so I could complete the final chapter and move on with my day, only to get interrupted by realising yet another new mission had appeared in need of urgent care through my game completion services.
See, technically you don't even need to beat every level. As long as you beat the boss of the last world, the next world opens. But I just have to clear the board for my own sense of pride, so I'll finish Pirate Island.
To be honest, the last level was alright.
And I'll complete this new mission, but after that I am rushing straight to the end goal. Trying to 100% this game is nothing more than an endurance test. At least give me something worthwhile like a heart attack.
After saving one of Billy's friends, you unlock a new level on each island where you play as them. I missed the forest village, so I backtracked there for my first rodeo with Rolly Roll. You call it a tax-deducted holiday, I call it a work event. Honestly, I was expecting it to be more of a drag, but while knocking about here, something hit me. The skies miraculously parted above me. I could sense all the sins I had committed flowing out of me in God's glorious epiphany.
You're too drunk, mate.
I just started getting really good at Billy Hatcher. Like, holy shit. Out of nowhere, I genuinely just got the hang of it. I was performing mad combos, decimating enemies that beforehand just had me running round and round in circles like crazy with disgrace. I figured out how to counter enemy attacks, getting a hit on them ahead of waiting for their cooldown period. I had mastered the egg.
Hey, you know what? I genuinely love this game now. Gilly, my whole one simple level has changed my whole reality, all because I've learned how to master the throw of an egg.
Dude, have you seen that good video? Oh,
Nah, but actually, I do have got this, mate. In fact, I like it. I'm gonna complete Billy Hatcher.
Welcome to World 3. Who else had Save the Elder Chicken in the first level on their bingo card again?
Somebody's a circle away from a free toenail clipper.
Dino Mountain provides a solid mix of ideas introduced in the past two worlds. It's got a ton of open space with concise platforming interludes, a decent amount of combat with varied plus new enemy types, introduces original gimmicks which oblige parting with eggs momentarily, and what I would argue to be too much content. There's a phenomenal boss where rather than constantly fighting on a field, only sometimes being vulnerable, you have to weasel it out of a skeleton mech, giving realism and depth to the stakes of this bout. Please keep in mind my contextual use of the word phenomenal and how long it took to get to this moment. I'm sorry, Dino Mountain. I'd love to go on, but you're overwhelming me, and I have my boundaries and need someone who respects me.
Okay, so Frosty Town over here is insulting me intelligence by thinking I need to use a cock ring to clear a gap as large as the circumference of me own.
What are you playing at? You can't just take the controller off me and have a go. Now I've got to put your links in the description.
Mate, what am I playing at? The same thing you've been playing at this whole time since you've come into me territory. I want to smoke him too. I like me chicken, medium rare, undercook that thing.
Wouldn't that give you salmonella?
Nah, I like to feel me meals.
Personally, I loved Blizzard Castle. If World 3 was a foundation for scope, then World 4 was better. The platforming remained solid, but now there's slopes, and they're fast, and they control like his anger.
We're out of booze.
Easily manipulated. I'll admit this boss was a joke, man, though. All he did was slide into walls with the crash inducing the world's shortest recorded coma. I suppose it's thematically correct, but why not play further into that? Have the player slide around too, make use of the repertoire one has developed over the past 20 minutes? Just a thought. You know, I'm just now realising in general how none of these bosses actually play with the hazards or gimmicks introduced in each world, instead challenging Thatcher in the most predictable, bland, generic area you could devise. Period. I want to at least give them credit for being comprehensive, but the first boss has a gimmick. It appears here and here alone, and consists of obstructing the player's view of the boss while it doesn't attack, wasting the time of you and I alike. Bastard! It doesn't particularly help how quickly you can get through this game, since every boss is on the second level, and beating them unlocks the next level. That's the minimum requirement of 2 levels per world, 10 levels total. The craving to complete your next set of free coffee stamps is just enough to keep you going until the end. After all, there's so little to go. It's barely even a temptation, just common sense, right? Maybe they refine the ingredients, maybe you acquired the taste, but either way, you're sucking into buying more when you don't really want it, but that one extra free. Hey, victory comes in many flavours, mainly charcoal. On that note, here's Circus Park, and you know what? I got my free extra. This level honestly feels like a carnival to play. There's real egg platforming now, and I know the sound design is dying with my serotonin levels, but let me have it. I enjoyed this. There's frequent but manageable enemy swarms, weak enough to plow through in seconds. It's a huge power rush. Billy's expanded moveset becomes a requirement. That's neat. Occasionally stronger enemies do appear in a group in non-uniform rooms, letting you experiment with ways to take down what are essentially mini-bosses. And on that note, not only is the boss practically always vulnerable, no arbitrary invincibility periods, but the gimmick of the level actually comes into play during the boss fight. It could be more, it's a circle arena after all, but it's my one free coffee.
There's more, isn't there?
Mate, I know this is like a bad time, but do you smoke?
And so after that, the centre of the world appears, our final destination, Sand Ruin. Actually though, quick side note, with every boss you beat, the skyline gets more blue, reflecting Billy's triumph over the Morning Lands. If we compare that to Night 1, wowee, what a glow up our influence has led to. Big up yourself, Billy.
I'm sorry, I'll stop stalling. It's the crow from Billy Hatcher!
Remember how Circus Bark gave actual use to the long jump? Yeah, Sound Ruins likes to make it feel like it's a bigger deal than it is, devaluing it retroactively. This is why Billy Hatcher agonizes me. It has so many great ideas with the most mundane, obvious execution. You can tell they literally gave up by this point. Like legit, eggs spawn around every corner, which sucks because traversing this pyramid is actually tricky. It takes genuine skill maneuvering around without cracking an egg, which you need to slingshot up to the next level, but there's eggs right next to all the slingshot, so there's no risk in f***ing up. FYI, not only is it easier to waddle around each floor with just Billy, but he can also jump through half of the obstacles, make it up to the top, and guess what meets you? Bingo. Honourable mention to the pillars destroying eggs on contact, like, oh nah mate, all due credit, I wouldn't want to go on either with a paper cut that bad. Thing is, in all honesty, I'm not even mad. None of this is frustrating or tedious to play. Okay, it is a little bit. I'm just baffled by the decisions that went into making this mission specifically. Fair play though. The second mission, the penultimate mission, combines everything together perfectly. Almost. See, to me this is a solid level, but it feels like a mid-game kind of difficulty where after warming up to the first couple of worlds, using your advanced abilities is now only turning into an expectation, not quite a requirement. And then they fill a room with fog, because blind platforming is fun, and Billy Hatcher's gameplay peaks look like Sega's stock graphs right about the time this game came out. God finally comes back to warn you that this boss, right here, this guy is going to be harder than any boss you've faced before.
I'll be the judge of that.
The entire battle is a refight of the first 5 bosses, but now they're purple! Also, the final boss gets tired after floating idle for about 10 seconds, so it sinks to the ground.
And this is what makes it vulnerable.
Ugh, do you see what I mean? This game just doesn't grasp the concept of being unique, and the bosses are the biggest victim of this, and the final boss, well, frankly I feel stupid for not seeing this coming. This is the definition of predictable. All he does is stand there, then falls!
More levels are unlocked after clearing the boss!
Son of a bitch!
One last level, it's gotta be, opens up to an incline just steep enough for Billy to slip on, literally kicking you further down once you've already been beaten, because this game is just lovely. Later on there's a chicken that basically calls you a pussy if you don't have 25 emblems under your portfolio. He's a dickhead. And then there's a puzzle, with no indication there's a puzzle in a platforming game to open the pyramid. Great. The podiums from all those post-boss cutscenes appear here, seemingly waiting to be activated by stepping into the center, at which point the game tells you, no, you need to collect every emblem, you numpty. Ain't you a cheeky sod for thinking this is over? And then it boots you back to the world map.
Hey, it's me, Gilly. Now, I feel bad, yeah, so I finished the other levels just so I'm not liable. It continues to bewilder me how many new ideas I can keep cramming into this game after skipping half of it. And how rubbish they continue to be. Like, mate, you're playing with a snowball, act your age. All the good levels with the fun movement came after the bosses. But how come the start of every world goes back to being crap? I know the piss always comes before the but come on. It's a video game. Swear down, every level either drags long enough for a rat to fossilise or can be completed in the time it takes for the firework to go down, or this Don here next to me to wake up. Yeah, lad, you're nearly done.
How did it take me longer on the second attempt? With a complete arsenal of emblems, the Rainbow Bridge is finally able to activate everybody. Much better. Alright, I've let off some steam. Alright, I need to let off some anger. I'll take it out on Billy Hatcher. Do you want my formal review of the final level of Billy Hatcher? My pinnacle of journalism? I'd literally just put an image of the R button. There is literally nothing to do bar running around ruins of what I can only imagine was once a shambolic temple. And then, the final boss. Ooh, look at how threatening he is. Nah, honestly, this is the most effective boss of the entire game because all of the waiting for it to actually do anything happens to drain away your actual life. Honestly, congratulations, mate. You're a real spectacle of innovation for the gaming industry. To be fair, this is a 2-phase boss fight, and the second phase, what the hell? Hooey, what a stinker! Our first strike comes from the crow, unavoidable. It even skins Billy of his suit. The player will have to take extreme care in this tense standoff. About 10 seconds later, Billy's inner chicken comes back. Like, just like that. Like he just gets it back.
And you thought I had the record for quickest pull-out?
Freeming Crow's main attack is like a tennis ball. Billy can catch its orb, toss it back at the crow, steal his heart, and then kill him. It's a classic, some may say overused example of defeating the enemy with their own attack in a final boss. That's a bit of a challenge, but statistically easier than the last to give the player the sense of harnessing the power they've garnered thus far. Why the piss does every boss in this game check off the entire trope bingo card?
Who cares? I did it! I beat Billy Hatcher!
Mate, calm down. It's not exactly Ebola, is it?
Good lord, Billy Hatcher. You perplex me. Take me to court on that statement and I'll fight it. Its originality as a platforming title cannot be overstated. It's incredibly unique and at the time insanely inventive to use an in-game peripheral for all your movement options. Who the hell's this? The problem is, the X use becomes incredibly repetitive and by the end of the game you only need to use 2 or 3 of its abilities because they're forced into your path whilst ultimately slowing you down. Some stages are a thrill, beautifully crafted around this egg-bound moveset, then future levels strip back to the bare minimum of expectation from your technical skills. Why? These aren't fun. As much as you can get technical with the combat, there's never a need to, and because of that there's no risk-reward mechanisms in place, and that's just boring. Also, this game is just so jank. Eggs keep clipping onto ledges, leaving you stranded below. Pushing eggs onto these rails was just agonizing, god damn it. This jetpack power-up was actually really fun to mess around with, but it literally should not work how it does. There's no sound, no animation, you can glide forever. Please keep this one for a sequel, but don't get me started on the pirate cannon again. But you know what? Despite it all, I really love this game. There's a lot of potential cemented into its core, but the direction is cluttered and mudded beyond belief. I mean, come on, have you seen how many mission definitions there are in this game? Its closest competition is the Oxford Dictionary. Also, you can unlock Sonic the Hedgehog in the post-game. I can't believe Sega got the rights to use him.
Right, so that's it then. Me entire legacy's crippled, and all you's got to say for yourself is you loved it. Are you doing this just to spite me after all I've done for yous?
I know, right? Ain't she cute?
Right, you know what, mate? Well, those are yours now. Last set of keys before me company went bust. Top floor and all. You know, less air, so your microwave heats up quicker.
Oh jeez, thanks Gilly, but you know you really don't owe me anything. It's just a game, man. I appreciate that you're giving me a home, but you don't have to.
Oh yeah, a home! Mate, those are keys for rehab. You've just sat here for 30 minutes nearly, chatting absolute shit about a video game just to say you loved it. You need help. Anyways, I don't want to see you, at least for a few months. Clock's ticking.